North Zone. I feel myself privileged to welcome you all to this beautiful webinar and a very educational webinar on the new cases and case laws under the GST with a very learned speaker who has joined us. To start the event head away so that we get the most of the time with the speaker, I request the convener of the Indirect Tax Study Circle, Shri Rajendra Arora ji, for his opening remarks.
Thank you, Chavi ma'am. DP sir, Sanjay sir, Chairman Saab, Anuj ji, other office bearers of the North Zone Committee, our learned speaker, past chairman of the North Zone, AIFTP, Senior Advocate Sandeep Goyal ji, Advocate CA Sandeep Goyal ji, and all my participants. Thank you very much for joining with us. Topic which has been designed for today's webinar is much thought and thoughtfully curated. The issues which I'm doubly sure the issues which Sandeep sir is going to deliberate upon would help us all to handle the tax positions, tax situations, the litigations which are occurring in day in and day out in the GST affair. Therefore, I am very much sure and that this is going to be very great learning exercise for next few minutes, few hours. I also thank our
Randa sir, your voice is breaking up. Please.
For joining with us, sir. I must acknowledge this. I'm sorry, actually, I'm in car, so therefore it could be. So I just finish it off so that it can move on. Yeah, but I just wanted to thank Sanjay sir because what I am observing, Sanjay sir is giving his precious time in every webinar, and sir is actually setting for all of us to lead. And sir, we really feel encouraged. We really feel motivated with your presence, with your direction. Thanks, sir. Honestly, I'm not saying it for the sake of saying because you been the so senior advocate, professional, and now at the helm of the affairs of the federation at the central level, and you are actively guiding us, directing us, helping us for betterment of the activities of the North Zone, sir. We are very thankful. And thank you, Chairman, sir, also for giving the free hand in uh, deciding in managing the entire study circle activities. Chavi ma'am also, thank you. And the participants have been really participated, very cooperative and always eager to learn more and more. I also acknowledge the presence of all the other office bearers and the other dignitaries from the Federation and from other organizations in the country. Thank you very much. We are looking forward, Sandeep sir, for the greater learning from you as always. Thank you. Over to you, Chavi ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much, the convener, sir. Now, moving ahead for the protocol, we request the chairman of the AIFTP North Zone, the very learned. We have all heard so great things about him from Sanjay Sarma.
Nothing like that.
Goyal,
Nothing like that.
So, for his chairman address for this webinar.
Thank you, Chavi man. Thank you, Randa sir. Respected speaker, Shri Sandeep Bhayaji, senior advocate from Chandigarh, learned professionals, our Deputy President Sanjay Kumar sir, distinguished members of North Zone, and other dear participants. Good evening to all. On behalf of AIFTP North Zone, it gives me immense pleasure to warmly welcome each one of you to today's insightful webinar on the topic latest issues under GST litigation. The webinar is organized as part of our continuous commitment towards professional excellence, knowledge sharing, keeping our members updated. As we all know, GST litigation is evolving rapidly, and staying informed is not just an option for us. It is very essential for every tax professional to be updated. We are truly honored to have with us today an eminent and highly respected speaker, Senior Advocate Sandeep Goyal sir from Chandigarh. Sir is having vast experience, deep expertise in GST and litigation matters. I am confident that his deliberation today will provide valuable insights, practical guidance to all of us. I encourage all participants to actively engage in the session to learn from such an esteemed expert. I may say that this is our fourth webinar in GST law, and I would like to acknowledge the efforts of our convener, C. Rajendra Roda sir, co-convener Shri Ma'am Chavi Jain, member CA Yogesh Harjai of Indirect Tax Study Circle Committee, and express my gratitude for organizing such an enriching webinars. As a chairman of North Zone, it is my duty to present, after the end of the first quarter, it is my duty to present a report of the programs organized by the North Zone in the first quarter of 2026. In the first quarter of 2026, we have organized 10 programs, 6 webinars, 4 seminars, addressed by eminent speakers and attended by almost like 2,200 tax professionals cumulatively. The programs covered a wide range of contemporary issues, both in direct and indirect taxes, ensuring practical learning, professional development. I also ensure that in future also, AFTP North Zone will remain committed to promote excellence, will impart quality education to our professional brothers. With these words, I once again welcome you all and wish you a very informative and productive session. Thank you. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you so much, Chairman
Chavi
sir.
ma'am, I request you to please ask Sanjay Kumar
Yes,
sir also to please bless us with his words of wisdom.
definitely. I request a very senior and a most learned and most coveted member who has joined us today, Sanjay Kumar ji, to please say a few words about this webinar and the AIFTP North Zones working.
Chavi ji, thank you so much. ये confusion हमेशा रहा whether I am Sanjay Kumar or Sanjay Sharma.
सर व्हाट्सएप पे आप संजय शर्मा के नाम से हैं.
नहीं, I am still Sanjay Kumar. Sanjay Sharma is in Delhi and he is into indirect taxes. And to be true, in past 36 years when I started practice, this is my first opening remarks on GST because I have never practiced on indirect taxes. Anyway, because it was my duty to come here. I am here. And to address the members here, I would just start with my chairman, North Zone, Anuj Bansal. And he is doing very well. All the senior members, the convener, co-convener who are here, good evening to all of you. And this webinar, as I came to know just now, it's the fourth webinar. So I have attended, I think, 3 webinars on GST. And today we are fortunate to have our senior advocate, Mr. Sandeep Goyal from Chandigarh, who will be sharing his valuable insights today. And Anuj, it's a great effort on you to bring Mr. Sandeep Goyal because he has done very well as the chairman of the North Zone. I think
I know he has taken the bar at different level. Now it is very difficult for us to meet that.
Yes, he has done very well. So I think I'm thankful to you. I have brought him here on this webinar. And आगे भी आप इनको लेके आइए, please. And Sandeep ji, tomorrow we are meeting.
Surely, sir.
इनको अब पकड़ना बड़ा मुश्किल होता है, मोस्टली कोर्ट में मिलते हैं. इनके दर्शन अब हम दिल्ली से वर्चुअल कॉल पे इनके दर्शन वर्चुअल लिंक पे दर्शन कर लेते हैं हाई कोर्ट में पंजाब में.
Now, as friends, we know GST when introduced, it was a very simple tax, right? It was said to be very simple, and but judging by the amount of litigation, if you see, जितना ये हुआ, it is bread and butter for the litigators. For the lawyers, it has been a bread and butter. And it's a favorite subject. But now as this GST tribunal has started working, I think a few appeals have been filed, एक दो judgment भी इनके आए हैं. So the story would be more organized if I foresee. कि अभी तक तो था, चल रहा था हाई कोर्ट में, ठीक था. But now tribunal आने के बाद से it would be, this litigation would be more organized. And this gap जो था, the absence of tribunal, I think it is good that they have removed the gap and they have started functioning. And appeals are being filed by all over India. few high courts have transferred these appeals to dismiss the appeal, and they are being with the direction to file the appeal by 30th June. And at the same time, जो issues तो वही रहेंगे, input tax credit का है, or major dispute area. Then you see these consequences of procedural lapses, which have big consequences. Am I audible?
Yeah, certainly.
Yes, sir.
अच्छा, okay. मुझे लगा आवाज नहीं आ रही मेरी. खैर, तो अब अरेस्ट एंड पेनल्टीज में भी कुछ जजमेंट आए हैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट और हाई कोर्ट्स के. तो I think the only principle what these judgments have laid down is the genuine taxpayer should not suffer, right? And the principles of natural justice must be followed, and the action should be by the authorities should be fair and reasonable. And with this coming of the GST tribunal, I think a structured system would be there. And I have nothing more to say because I have my younger brother, Mr. Sandeep Goyal, to refer to these judgments. And hello, there is some problem with the voice. Am I audible? Because
You are audible, perfectly audible, sir.
Audible.
So with these few words, I hand over to Mr. Anuj Goyal to take the proceedings with a request to Mr. Sandeep Goyal to please be active in the North Zone.
Thank you so much, sir, for those kind
Thank you.
words.
Thank you so much.
And with this kind of an introduction by somebody like Sanjay Kumarji, it's a little unreal to ask for a formal introduction for the speaker, but as a process and a protocol. And with due respect, I request CA Akhilesh Kumar Gargji, the Treasurer of AIFTP North Zone, to kindly read out the profile and introduce the speaker to the audience, which is 177 already.
Namaskar. I am highly privileged to introduce the learned speaker of today's webinar, Mr. Sandeep Goyal. I start. Mr. Sandeep Goyal, senior advocate, is one of the leading lawyers on the taxation side and is in practice for the last 25 years. He is regularly arguing the matters before Supreme Court, Punjab and Haryana High Court, other high courts and tax tribunals. He has been involved in many high-profile litigations in which landmark judgments have been delivered by the honorable courts. He is a lawyer with background of chartered accountancy, where he had been placed on All India merit list of rank holder. Sir, as a chartered accountant, I congratulate you. Recently, Honorable High Court of Punjab and Haryana has designated him as senior advocate. Earlier, Mr. Sandeep Goyal had been appointed as senior standing counsel for Income Tax Department in Punjab and Haryana High Court. However, in the year 2022, he had resigned to resume his private practice in income tax. He was also appointed as Additional Advocate General, Punjab in the year 2012. Also appointed, he had also served as chairman of AIFTP North Zone for the year 2024. He has delivered lectures and addressed webinars across the country on diverse topics relating to taxation laws and constitutional laws. He has also contributed articles which have been published in the leading journals of the country and are also on websites. His area of practice are litigation, advisory and tax management solutions, especially in the areas of income tax, transfer pricing, GST, VAT, criminal, commercial litigation and constitutional laws. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Now I request the learned speaker, Ji Advocate C.A. Sandeep Goyal ji, a very senior and a learned speaker, to please address all of us, and the floor is completely yours, sir.
Thank you so much, Chavi, for giving me this opportunity. And I also thank our esteemed Deputy President Sanjay Kumar, my elder brother, for being there to bless us with his words. The current chairman, Anuj Bansal ji, maybe future chairman who are here, and also a lot of other friends of mine from across the country. So I had seen the list of attendees. I think we have been joined by members of AIFTP across the country, from north, from the west, from the central zone, from the east zone, and from the southern zone. I am not in a position to name all of them, because that will eat up a lot of time. But I'm really thankful, grateful to them. Some friends of mine have also joined from Punjab and Haryana High Court. So grateful to all of them, and also thankful to Anuj and the convener of GST, Rajendra Arora ji, for having given me this opportunity. I'd been actually longing for this, to meet my AIFTP friends for quite some time. If I've not met them physically, maybe through this webinar, I can catch up with all of them. And I just want and request all of you to make this webinar a little bit more interactive. So I'll be requesting that you ask more questions rather than I speaking one way. So would be requesting you to please ask the questions from me, so that we can make it a little more interactive. We would also take the help of our learned brother Rajendra Arora ji, who has been doing such a wonderful work on GST. And we have also other learned friends. I'm also blessed to have Shri S.R. Vadva ji, one of our oldest members of AIFTP, to have joined the webinar and bless us for this webinar. Not taking too much of time in all these pleasantries, so I'll straightway jump on to the issues which we have to discuss today. When we had GST had come, a lot of friends had doubts in their mind if we are going to survive in this GST era, where the computerization is there, centralization has been done, and everything is going to be streamlined. But as the experience says, the litigation and the issues which were there in GST have increased manifold. Speaking for our High Court, I would say that in our High Court, the litigation has increased multiple times. Every day in the tax bench, we are having about 70 to 80 supplementary matters, or the urgent matters as we call here. So रोज रोज नई litigation आ रही है, matters take up हो रहे हैं, and some of them I would say are rather very trivial issues, but having huge implications, financial implications on the assessees, which should not have had actually traveled to the High Court. But yes, those are traveling. And as Sanjay Bhaiya has just told us, that this is all bread and butter for the lawyers. That is true, that it is a bread and butter for the lawyers, and the litigation is good for us. But at the end of the day, the things do not seem to be going very well in so far as GST is concerned. I think lots and lots of issues have cropped up. So taking up all of the issues, those issues one by one, the first issue which I want to highlight, and which almost all of us are affected, is the issue with regard to the admissibility of credit under the GST, for which the Section 16 prescribes certain conditions. So if we talk about Section 16(2), the conditions have been prescribed that you have to have the invoice, you need to have invoice from the registered person, you need to have the goods, you must have received the goods, you should be filing your returns, the tax must have been paid by the supplier. All those conditions are there. Now, having received those goods from the supplier who happened to be registered as on the date when the goods were received or the goods were purchased from the seller, subsequently an order is passed by the assessing authority or the jurisdictional officer of the supplier to say that the registration of that supplier is cancelled, and that too from the retrospective effect. That immediately affects my purchase, which I had done about 3 or 5 years back. Now, the difficulty arises if you are cancelling the registration certificate of a dealer from the back date. In that scenario, perhaps you are not fulfilling any of the conditions. You are not purchasing the goods from a dealer who is registered because his registration has been cancelled from the retrospective date. And since you have the dealer from whom you have purchased is as per the record or as per the documents, he is not registered. So they say that you have not received the goods also. I cannot receive the goods from a ghost. Then they say the tax definitely has not been paid on that. And then they say filing of your returns has no meaning. All these provisions, the section 16(2)(c), the similar provision was there under the VAT Act when the judgment of Gerulal Balchand had deliberated on all these issues as to what would be the fault of a bona fide purchaser, as to whether the credit can be disallowed to him in a scenario where the seller has not paid the tax. The court said that in a case where the bona fide of the purchaser is established and he has purchased the goods in a rightful manner, then in that case, the ITC cannot be denied, and it is only the fraudulent cases where the ITC would be denied. And that was, I think, a very correct view of the whole situation. And that had been followed by the Delhi High Court in Shanti Kiran, and thereafter Arise India, Arise India case, and that had been taken to the Supreme Court, wherein on quest the judgment, this SLP had been dismissed. And very recently we had the case of Shanti Kiran also, in which the department appeal has been dismissed. So to say that under the VAT Act, they say that in case the fraudulent transactions are not there, then the ITC cannot be denied. To that extent, the law seems to be settled as of now. Now, taking clue from the litigation which was there under the VAT Act, the challenge was also made to the provisions of section 16(2)(c) in various high courts. While some of the high courts have dealt with 16(2)(c) interpretation, not exactly the vires or the constitutional validity of the same, have given an opinion that it is for the legislature to prescribe as to whether the ITC would be available to you or not, and you have to fulfill those conditions on which the department has been actually rely upon. But there have been 3 judgments very recently from the various high courts. One is from Guwahati High Court in the case of National Plus 2, as we know. Second is in the case of Sahil Enterprises from Tripura High Court, where the National Plus 2 has been referred and relied upon. And recently we have had the judgment of Instacart coming from Karnataka High Court. So all those 3 judgments are almost on the same identical lines as we had in the VAT Act, to say that input tax credit would be allowed to a person in case his transactions are bona fide and he has purchased the goods from a dealer whose registration was existing as on the date on which the goods had been purchased. So in a way, this similar interpretation has been given by different high courts. Now, when we had laid challenge to these cases or to the vires of section 16(2)(c) before the Honorable Punjab Haryana High Court, and I'm sure this has been done in the other high courts as well, that we are claiming ourselves to be bona fide, but the department is saying that on the question of 16(2)(c), you are not allowed to take the ITC. The department starting issuing a different kind of show cause notice, where they say not only 16(2)(c), we are also saying that you have violated 16(2)(a) as well as 16(2)(b). How you have violated 16(2)(a)? Because we have cancelled the registration of the dealer from the back date, therefore you have not made the purchases from a registered dealer. 2, since his registration has been cancelled, therefore we are saying that you have not received the goods. Why we are saying, we do not know, but we are saying that you have not received the goods. So in a way, we are doubting the entire transaction, but the law says that it is for the department to establish as to whether the ITC, on what basis they want to deny the ITC. So this is the hot burning topic as of today. A lot of litigation has happened on this. I'm sure this is gonna go to Supreme Court, and thereafter the things will settle down one way or the other. But I believe some interpretation has to take place, and some questions would be answered by the high courts as well as the Honorable Supreme Court on this issue. So 16(2)(c) continues to be one major issue in the GST litigation, and I believe it is going to happen in future also. I would just share one case with you wherein this issue had cropped up, how the 16(2)(c) aspect has actually been being blown out of proportion by the department. A dealer who had purchased the goods, a trader, he had purchased goods from a company which was situated in Calcutta, and the purchases were on bill to ship to basis, wherein the goods were delivered to another factory or the manufacturer in Haryana. He himself happened to be a Haryana dealer, wherein he purchased the goods on bill to ship to model. He delivered the goods in Haryana. So the movement of the goods, the receipt of the goods, and the documentation e-way, there is no way it can be doubted in any manner, because the goods have certainly reached the ultimate user of the goods, which was the manufacturer. And of course, they are imposing tax upon me as a supplier to say that the sales have taken place. And if those sales have taken place, my purchase cannot be actually questioned at all. Now, what had happened, the selling dealer who had only filed GSTR 1 but had not filed GSTR 3 in the meanwhile because of the financial crunch. You remember those days when GSTR 1 could be filed without GSTR 3B. So he had, once the GST dues had become due against him, the notices were issued. The party had approached the Honorable National Company Law Tribunal under the IBC and had sought moratorium, and ultimately his dues were wiped out, wherein it was settled that he is not required to pay any further dues for whatever had been decided by the NCLT, depending upon the liabilities which were there for the secured creditors. And it was decided that yes, no liability is required to be paid to the GST department on account of this. Ghanshyam Mishra says that you cannot recover, therefore they could not recover from the selling company. Now they have issued the notice to the trader who has worked perhaps for just 1 paisa out of 100 rupees on this entire transaction, and they are asking him to make the payment under section 16(2)(c), under of course issued the notice under 74, to say that since the selling dealer has not paid the tax, therefore you please pay this tax. So we have taken that matter to the High Court that what you are asking is absolutely ridiculous. You say that from the selling dealer, the tax cannot be recovered in terms of IBC, and you are shifting that liability to the buyer. So if that is there, then in that case, the whole purpose of IBC gets defeated, one. And secondly, you are asking me to do an impossible task. I have already paid the tax to the seller, which you cannot recover. So if we have to draw the parity between these transactions with a transaction, suppose you want to pay the tax. The government prescribes certain banks, now of course we are doing it online, prescribe certain banks wherein they say that you pay the exact tax or income tax we used to pay or the GST we wanted to pay. You deposit this amount in the bank. The bank issues me the complete slip, issues me the proper challan, and thereafter at the back end it is found that the bank persons have actually gobbled up that money and have not transferred that money to the department, and it has not gone to the treasury. Very recently we have seen that fraud of IDFC Bank in Haryana, in Panchkula, wherein the money which was lying in the bank accounts of the government, that money had been diverted and siphoned off. Now the question would arise, you are actually, as per law, asking me to make the payment to an agent of the government who has been registered by you. I make payment to him and you cannot recover money from him. Whether that liability can be passed on or fastened upon me? The answer would, in law, would be no. But they still continue to issue me the notices under 74 saying that he had been unregistered, he has not filed the returns. Well, I am not responsible for whatever he has done. The question is, as per law, you are asking me to make payment to a dealer who is registered under the provisions of GST Act, and you have failed to recover this money from him. Maybe it is by force of law, maybe it is because of your negligence, maybe it is because of the fact that the person has committed a fraud. But in neither of these scenarios, you can shift the liability of that seller to me and claim that the recovery would be made from you. So 16(2)(c) is an issue which is very much alive. Lot of different propositions come up, which are of course cornering the basic issue of 16(2)(c), and those will be taken up by the courts and decided accordingly. Of course, we are now supported by 3 different high courts who have decided that 16(2)(c) has to be read down in a manner to say that wherever the transactions are bona fide in nature, no tax can be recovered from the purchaser of goods, provided he, of course, establishes that provided he establishes that there is a genuineness in the entire transactions. That is one aspect which I wanted to share with you. Then we also have the issue with regard to section 122 penalties. So very recently, I've seen a lot of influx with regard to litigation arising out of 122 penalties. Well, there are many issues which we can discuss under 122. We know that 122.1 prescribes certain penalties. Then 122.1a had been introduced with effect from 1st of January 21 to say that a person who has been taking the benefit of a transaction, he is also liable to be penalized. And then we have the remaining section 122.2 and 122.3 to say that the abettor of this would also be penalized. Now 122, if we see the first aspect, 122.1 capital A, which was introduced on 1st of January 21. We have seen the cases where the notices have been issued by the officers from the back for the period, even for the period 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20, and of course 2021. Now the question would arise whether a notice could have been issued in this regard by the officers by applying this law retrospectively. The answer would be no. There is a clear protection granted to us under the Constitution, wherein a person cannot be penalized for the crime or for the offense which was not in the statute as on the day it has been committed. So if on the date when the offense has been committed, it is not a crime or an offense, then I cannot be held liable to, I cannot be punished for the offense which has been committed according to them. Now, going by that analogy, no such penalty could have been imposed. But unfortunately, we have had a judgment from Honorable Delhi High Court in this regard, wherein the penalty which was imposed for the periods even prior to this had been actually upheld by the Honorable High Court. But later on, when the matters had again gone to the High Court, the Honorable High Court had granted the stay, saying that this cannot be applied retrospectively. And in that regard, even a case of Honorable Bombay High Court is also there, where the stay has been granted and it has been stated that 122.1a cannot be applied retrospectively. That is in the case of Amit Manipal. Then another aspect of 122.1 capital A would be, so if we travel from 21 onwards, whether this penalty can be imposed or not. So one aspect of 122.1a is that the person who is being sought to be penalized must have retained the benefit of the transaction in question. Otherwise, penalty cannot be imposed. So that's a basic fundamental issue in this regard. I came across a case. A person who happened to be employee of a very well-known company, उस कंपनी ने कुछ मटेरियल सेल करा. There was an allegation of underpricing or the transactions that some more money has been actually recovered from the buyers than what has been the transaction value. अब उस केस में उन्होंने क्या करा, जिन जिन लोगों ने उसकी जो डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स थे, उन लोगों ने जो पैसे थे एक्स्ट्रा ले रखे थे, उसकी तो उन्होंने टैक्स भी लगा दिया, पेनल्टी भी लगा दी, सब कुछ कर दिया 74 में. जो मैनेजर था जो कंपनी का, उसके ऊपर भी 122.1a की पेनल्टी लगा दी और उसको उन्होंने बोला कि आपके पास कोई ट्रांजैक्शन, उसकी एक कोई उन्होंने देखी उसके आईपैड में, किस ट्रांजैक्शन के ऊपर आप वहां पर कुछ फिगर्स लिखी हुई हैं, वो हम प्रिज्यूम करते हैं कि वो आपने पैसे लिए हैं, इसलिए हम आपके ऊपर पेनल्टी लगा रहे हैं. और कितनी पेनल्टी लगा रहे हैं, हम उतनी पेनल्टी लगा रहे हैं जितनी की टैक्स की वैल्यू है, हम उतनी पेनल्टी लगा रहे हैं जितनी की टैक्स की वैल्यू जो व्यक्ति ने चोरी करी है उसकी है. उस जो फिगर्स उनके आईपैड पे लिखी हुई है उससे कोई उसका लेना देना नहीं है. I had a question in mind in this regard. If we read section 122.1 capital A carefully, it talks about the imposition of penalty on a person who has retained the benefit of a transaction. पहली बात तो हमें ये समझने की जरूरत है कि 122(1) और 122(1) कैपिटल ए ये कोई लमसम पेनल्टीज नहीं है. वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड कि ये सारी की सारी जो पेनल्टीज हैं वो ट्रांजैक्शन वाइज ही लगेंगी और ऑफेंस वाइज लगेंगी. अब 122(1) जो है वो स्पेसिफिकली बात करता है, वर्ड वहां यूज हुआ है ट्रांजैक्शन विच इज सिंगुलर. It does not talk about plurality of transactions. Therefore, in my opinion, if an officer wants to impose a penalty upon a person to say that somebody has evaded the tax in a particular transaction, I'm again stressing the word in a particular transaction, then in that case, the person who has retained the benefit out of this would also be liable to pay the penalty equal to the amount of tax evaded. आप ये नहीं कर सकते हैं कि अगर एक व्यक्ति ने एक पर्टिकुलर ट्रांजैक्शन का कोई बेनिफिट लिया है. I'll give you an example. Somebody approaches me कि भाई आप इस केस में आप ये मटेरियल मेरे से परचेज कर लो और आप इसके जो पैसे हैं वो मेरे को 2 नंबर में दे दो. लेट्स अज्यूम अ सिचुएशन, वो मेरे को बिना बिल के माल दे रहा है पर वो उसका जो बिल है वो किसी और को इशू कर रहा है. अब इस तरीके से देखा जाए, जो सामने वाला व्यक्ति है उसने मेरे को बिना बिल के माल दिया है, उसके ऊपर पेनल्टी लगती है क्योंकि उस टैक्स भी लगेगा, उसके ऊपर पेनल्टी भी लगेगी 74 में, बिकॉज ही हैज नॉट पेड द टैक्स ऑन दिस. उसके ऊपर इस बात की पेनल्टी भी लगेगी कि उसने जो बिल इशू करा है वहां पर उसने एक्चुअल में गुड्स नहीं सेल करी हैं. Now to say that suppose I am not registered anywhere, but I have retained some benefit out of this particular transaction. Say मैंने उसके अंदर 10,000 रुपए का टैक्स बचा लिया because I have purchased it out of books. Therefore 122(1) में मेरे ऊपर उसके अंदर पेनल्टी जो 10,000 की है उस ट्रांजेक्शन वैल्यू की वो लगेगी. Now this could be one singular instance. Now suppose जो वो वाला सामने वाला बंदा है उसने मेरे को एक सेल करी है इस तरीके की, पर उसने मेरे को तो एक सेल करी है पर बाजार में उसने ऐसी 1,000 ट्रांजेक्शन और कर रखी हैं. मैंने सिर्फ एक बेनिफिट उसमें से एक ट्रांजेक्शन का बेनिफिट लिया है. नाउ कुड द ऑफिसर अंडर 122(1) penalize me for the entire liability of that seller by claiming that since I have retained the benefit of rupees 10,000 out of this, even to that extent there is no finding. Therefore अगर उसके ऊपर 10 करोड़ रुपया लग रहा है तो 10 करोड़ रुपए की पेनल्टी आपके ऊपर भी लगेगी. The answer would be no. If we read section 122(1)(a), the scheme of the act, and if we read the provisions by way of strict interpretation, I think there is no room whatsoever to say that I am required to be penalized for the entire amount of tax evaded by somebody else, even if I have retained some benefit out of this. Only today I was doing one case, very interesting. A chartered accountant, the professional chartered accountant, he had been rendering his normal professional services to his client. And that professional had filed the returns in consideration of the fee which he had to receive. On a monthly basis, he filed his returns 3B. He filed his GSTR1. He also filed his income tax returns. He also advised him with regard to registration and amendment of registration. These are all the professional work we normally do every day. I think हमारे यहाँ 200 से ज्यादा लोग जो बैठे हुए हैं वो सारे के सारे यही काम करते हैं. मैं भी यही काम कर रहा हूं. मैं भी कोई मेरे पास व्यक्ति आता है मैं उसको प्रोफेशनली गाइड करता हूं. And that is in lieu of professional fee which we get. Now what they say, the dealer whose premises has been searched has evaded certain tax, and since you have evaded that tax and the professional help has been taken from the CA, I'm saying professional help, not anything out of the way. Since the advice has been taken from the CA, therefore the CA has abetted the crime, and therefore we would impose a penalty under section 122(1)(a) upon a professional to the tune of the amount of tax evaded by that entity. भाई साहब, जो सीए है उसने काम करा, उसके ऊपर 10 करोड़ की पेनल्टी लगा दी उन्होंने. Imagine a situation, the officer can ruin anybody. I think we as professional brothers, we need to rise up, and I think we need to agitate these issues together. How can an officer impose a penalty of rupees 11 crore upon a person, a professional? Even if he has to go in appeal and get it wiped out, he has to deposit 1 crore of rupees as per the new amended provision. And this is totally ridiculous. The litigation has gone in a completely different manner, gone on a different tangent at all together. You cannot be penalizing a person just because he has rendered his professional help. So that would be the situation which we need to tackle as of today. And that too without even mentioning as to whether any benefit has been retained by it or not. Not even a whisper about it, that he has retained any benefit out of the tax which has been evaded by the entity. Going further in 122(1)(a) itself, we have all seen another judgment of Honorable Bombay High Court in the case of Shantanu Sanjay Hundekari. Friends, he happened to be the person who was in charge of a shipping company, very famous shipping company by the name of Maersk. Some tax was sought to be imposed upon him. I think कोई voice का issue.
You are audible. Yeah, you are perfectly audible. There is no issue, Sandeep sir.
कोई मैसेज आ रहा था वॉइस के रिलेटेड.
कौन? अखिलेश का जी. अच्छा.
Okay.
But I can hear.
All right. So,
Perfectly audible.
All right. So शांतनु संजय हडीकरी में एम्प्लॉय के ऊपर दी जो चीफ उनका था, मैनेजर जो था, a penalty of 3,700 crores of rupees was imposed by saying that since you were the person who was at the helm of the affairs and since the company has evaded this tax, therefore you are also equally liable to pay penalty under section 122(1)(a). The ingredients of 122(1)(a) are not met. Imagine the state of mind of a person who has been fastened with the liability of 3,700 crores merely for the reason that he happened to be the employee of a company. Similar thing happened in one of my cases. A person who had been handling the tax issues of a company. वो एक अलग स्टोरी है कि टैक्स जो कंपनी के ऊपर लगाया वो भी बिल्कुल ही गलत लगाया था. आई एम नॉट गोइंग इनटू दैट. उस एम्प्लॉय को इस वजह से टैक्स लगा दिया क्योंकि वो अथॉरिटीज के पास जाके उसके केस को, कंपनी के केस को रिप्रेजेंट कर रहा था और उस पीरियड के लिए लगा दिया है जिस पीरियड में वो एम्प्लॉय ही नहीं था. कंपनी के ऊपर टैक्स लगा रहे हो, 122(1)(a) में आप एम्प्लॉय के ऊपर लगा रहे हो जो आपके सामने पेश होके उस केस को रिप्रेजेंट कर रहा है कंपनी की तरफ से, and for the period during which he was not even an employee. 122(1) इस पर्पस के लिए कभी नहीं बना था. 122(1) में जिस तरीके से डिपार्टमेंट आज की डेट में पेनल्टीज लगा रहा है, आई थिंक वी वुड बी लेफ्ट विद नो अदर ऑल्टरनेटिव. हमारी हाई कोर्ट जो हैं वो इतनी लिटिगेशन से भर जाएंगी अगर इस तरीके से डिपार्टमेंट इस जीएसटी एक्ट को इंप्लीमेंट कर रहा है. आई थिंक ना तो 122 जब शुरू में हम लोग जीएसटी एक्ट पढ़ते थे कभी किसी ने सोचा था इस तरीके से चलेगा. ना लॉ फ्रेमर्स की इस तरीके की कोई इंटेंशन है, but the foot soldiers at the bottom level are indulging into such kind of I would say some kind of things they are doing where the people are being harassed, people are being tortured like this. वो कुछ भी कहते रहे, उनके खिलाफ पेनल्टी लगा रहे हैं बाय बाय हुक और क्रुक, बाय लेफ्ट राइट, जो भी कुछ आ रहा है उसके मुताबिक वो लगा रहे हैं, आप कुछ भी कहते रहो. So 122(1) is one aspect which we as professional, I think we have to be very very careful. हाँ, इसमें एक और aspect, जब आपको नोटिस दे रहे हैं 122(1)(a) का, आपको ये बताते ही नहीं है, चाहे वो प्रोफेशनल है, चाहे वो एम्प्लॉय है, चाहे वो कोई भी और व्यक्ति है, कि आपके ऊपर हम कितनी पेनल्टी प्रपोज कर रहे हैं. पेनल्टी एज पेएबल अंडर द प्रोविजन और पेनल्टी एज प्रपोज्ड. They don't say anything. I'd come across an order where the professional has been fastened with the liability under section 122(1)(a. उसका पूरे ऑर्डर के अंदर जिक्र ही नहीं है, उसके रिप्लाई को कंसीडर ही नहीं कर रखा. उसका लास्ट में जो नाम एक इंडेक्स बना हुआ है, उसके अंदर नाम लिख के उसके अगेंस्ट पेनल्टी मेंशन कर रखी है, बस दैट्स इट. ये लिखा ही नहीं है कि उसका कसूर क्या है पूरे ऑर्डर के अंदर. हिज नेम इज नॉट मेंशन इन द ऑर्डर. And penalty, can you believe the penalty is to the tune of 200 crores of rupees? We are talking about the figure 3,700 crores. We are talking about 200 crores, talking about 10 crores of rupees.
And 10% appeal can also not be filed because 10% has to be
That is
deposited.
there. And you are actually, I would say, promoting corruption. What else is it? You are asking the professionals to go and compromise with these people. This is totally draconian. This is not what the GST Act or the tax laws were meant for. अब हम टैक्स, इनकम टैक्स में हम लोग पिछले 60-70 साल से प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हैं. 1961 में है, उससे पहले भी था. आई थिंक वी हैड नॉट सीन सच लाइक थिंग्स व्हिच हैड हैपेंड इन द पास्ट. It had not happened in the central excise regime. It had not happened in the service tax regime. It had not happened in the VAT Act. But here we are facing this difficulty where 122(1)(a) has been introduced and every single person on earth is being asked to pay. If this argument has to be taken further, then we as professionals also, we have also taken some money from them and therefore we have retained the benefit out of that tax evaded. Therefore the penalty is to be imposed upon us also. There could be some cases जहां लोगों ने उसमें they have participated in the wrongdoing of the SSCs. They must be penalized, but there are provisions for that. There is a provision for abatement. There is a provision where they can be penalized under the professional codes also. There are certain acts under which they can be penalized. The money can be recovered from them, but you cannot be simply saying that क्योंकि एसएससी ने 10 करोड़ का घपला कराया है तो आपके ऊपर मैं 10 करोड़ की पेनल्टी लगा रहा हूं. That's not done. As I already said, 122(1) capital A, we need to find out as to what benefit has been retained by the said person under that particular transaction. It cannot be the entire transactions of the SSC with which you can be penalized. तो शांतनु संजय हडनकरी में उन्होंने इंग्रेडिएंट्स नहीं बताया कि उसने 122(1)(a) में कैसे बेनिफिट रिटेन करा. उसमें से Bombay High Court had actually quashed this penalty. The SLP against that has also been dismissed by the Honorable Supreme Court. So the courts have come to the constitutional courts have come to the rescue of the SSCs. Some, not SSCs, the other persons against whom such penalties have been imposed. But it all depends, for that matter, we had very, very senior counsels who had been appearing for these SSCs. The companies could afford it. But imagine a situation of a person who cannot afford the litigation. In this country, the litigation is very, very expensive. Approaching the constitutional courts and getting the relief is not everybody's, it is not within everybody's capacity. We need to understand this. We need to take up all these issues on a collective basis. Anuji, our institution, this AIFTP, I think we need to incorporate all these things and to say that our professional brothers and other persons need to be saved from this. I think we have that indirect tax committee which is functioning in AIFTP. we should work on this and we should represent before the GST Council also that 122(1)A should be clarified in this fashion. Where you have some definite information, yes, but you put this notice to him that yes, this is what you have done, and
This is
thereafter
yes.
penalty as per law.
This is a very important point, sir. This you have told us a very important point, and we'll definitely make a
Yes.
representation for this and put before the GST Council, sir.
And then going further in 122 itself, I think we have all been apprised of this. We are all aware of this, that the GST department, which consider itself as to be the final authority of everything, they had simply forgotten to appoint any proper officer under section 122. And they did so after a writ petition had been filed in Honorable Allahabad High Court in Patanjali, where this point had been taken. Based upon that, they had issued the notification on 27th of October 25, saying that 122 officer was not appointed, which we are appointing from today. But the notices and the orders have been passed in the past. All those things have happened. They have imposed penalties, they have issued the notices, knowing very well that no such powers have been given. In contrast, State of Haryana has issued the notification or they issued the circular appointing an officer under section 122, which shows that the officer under the GST, the central GST, had been actually very, very laxate in this and have not done their job properly. They had not issued the notification or the circular to appoint the proper officer under section 122. And therefore, I would say this is another area where the litigation is going to arise, and perhaps we are going to see the similar thing which has happened in the income tax under section 148, initially under the Ashish Bansal and then Rajiv Bansal, Ashish Agarwal and then Rajiv Bansal. And now recently we have seen that section 147A being reintroduced in the in the act with retrospective effect. एक क्वेश्चन जो बारी बारी आता है, जो मेरे से भी डिस्कस हो रहा है, एंड आई एम आल्सो डूइंग सम लिटिगेशन ऑन दिस, सवाल ये आता है कि क्या सेक्शन 74 में जो लिमिटेशन है, would that apply to section 122 as well? Now this question arises for the reason that under section 74 the limitation has been prescribed that the notice has to be issued 6 months prior to the date by which you have to pass a final order. A final order की date जो है वो है 5 years from the filing of your annual return. So 6 months prior to the 5 years, so I would say 4.5 years from the date of filing of your return would be the limitation period for issuance of a notice under section 74. Now 122 does not talk about any limitation period. Now डिपार्टमेंट वाले कहते हैं कि हम कभी भी नोटिस दे सकते हैं, हम कभी भी ऑर्डर पास कर सकते हैं. सो देयरफॉर हमारे ऊपर 122 में तो कुछ अप्लाई नहीं होता. हम 17-18 का भी आज की डेट में नोटिस दे सकते हैं आपको. आप इसमें अंदर कोई ग्रीवेंस नहीं कर सकते, क्योंकि वो तो पेनल्टी है, वहां तो लिमिटेशन प्रिस्क्राइब्ड ही नहीं है. So for this, I think we need to keep in mind that there are certain judgments where the concept of reasonable period has been deliberated upon, and it has been held by various courts that the limitation period would be there even in the cases where the limitation period has not been prescribed by the statute. And what would be the limitation period will depend upon facts of each case. The landmark judgment on this issue is the case of State of Punjab versus Batinda Cooperative Milk Producers District Union, which originated out of Punjab General Sale Tax Act. For the GST purposes, there is no direct judgment per se, but we can borrow the similar argument from the judgments under the Income Tax Act. One judgment is there in the case of NHK Japan Broadcasting Corporation, wherein a person who was to be held as assessee in default for non-deposit of TDS, whereas section 153(1)A prescribes for a period of 2 years for the completion of assessment relating to TDS. The court said that the similar period would apply for imposition of penalty as well. SLP against the same has been dismissed. Gujarat High Court, Bombay High Court, and Karnataka High Court have also taken the similar view. Then there is judgment of Odisha Mining Corporation versus STO 2023 109 GSTR page 11, that for that the reasonable period would be 3 years, which is similar to the assessment for section 73. So therefore, the constitutional courts have said that limitation period would be there, reasonable period would have to be applied even where the limitation has not been prescribed by the statute. Then another litigation, I would say huge litigation which has arisen before the high courts, is with regard to the bunching of multiple years in one show cause notice. There have been divergent views on this. We had the judgment of this Madras High Court, the Kerala High Court, the Karnataka High Court. And then we had a contrary view which was given by the Delhi High Court in the case of Mathur Polymers and in the case of Ambika Traders. This SLP against Mathur had been dismissed. There have been the views by Andhra Pradesh High Court also and Bombay High Court. The Bombay High Court has actually deliberated upon the dismissal of SLP originating out of Delhi High Court and still said that according to us, the bunching of multiple years in one single show cause notice is not permissible. But then we had a judgment from Allahabad High Court by Justice S.D. Singh recently, wherein it has been upheld that the bunching of multiple years in one show cause notice is very much permissible, and there is nothing in the law which says that such a bunching cannot take place. In our High Court, in Punjab Haryana High Court, the notices have been issued, the matters have been clubbed together, and those have been listed for 1st of May, and stay has been granted wherever the recoveries are being sought to be made by the department. Now, this issue, which is their bunching of multiple years, we need to see it from the scheme of the act as to how the lawmakers have framed this law. Whether too many cooks spoil the food, खिचड़ी पका देते हैं बिल्कुल वो. उन्होंने कुछ वैट का एलिमेंट डाल दिया, कुछ कस्टम्स का डाल दिया, कुछ सर्विस टैक्स का डाल दिया, कुछ सेंट्रल एक्साइज का डाल दिया, तो उन्होंने सारा सबको मिक्स करके एक ऐसी खिचड़ी पका दी है जिसको कि हजम करना बड़ा मुश्किल हो रहा है. If you have a look at the provisions of section 73 or for that matter 74, it has been provided that a person can be issued the show cause notice in case he has failed to pay the tax, short paid the tax, has availed the ITC wrongly, and has taken the refund wrongly. So these are the 4 parameters under which notice can be issued under 73, 74. Then they say under 73.2 and 74.2 that the show cause notice will be issued in this regard, depending upon the period of 73 and 74, either 3 months prior to the issuance passing of final order, or saying that 74.10, the period which has been prescribed has to be 5 years. So 6 months prior to that, the show cause notice has to be issued. Now, when we go further, it has been provided that the officer would pass the order depending upon this reply which has been filed by the SSC. And of course, 75 says that you have to grant him the opportunity. But then 74.10 talks about the limitation period pertaining to a particular financial year. Some of the courts were of the view that this is the limitation which has been prescribed, that nobody can go beyond the period of 5 years from the financial year for which you are raising the demand. There is no way that there is any bar that the periods cannot be clubbed together. That is one view. But if you see section 73 and 74, that also obliges the officer to issue a notice under section 142(1), which we are all aware of. And that notice has been prescribed as DRC 01. If you go to DRC 01, The words overused over there are tax periods, and then it is mentioned financial year. If you see all the forms which are there in continuation, DRC01, DRC02, DRC03, I think that's not required, DRC06 and DRC07, they all talk about tax period and the financial year. Nowhere it has been used as to be as it is plural. Therefore, the notices which are to be issued can only pertain to one particular financial year. Why I'm saying so? If you see the utilities which is available on the internet for the departmental officers to issue the notice in DRC01, there are drop-down menus for them wherein they have to select the financial year, and only one financial year can be selected from there. I don't know, they must have made the changes now after seeing this much of litigation. And then the tax period has to be referred to be within that financial year. How many tax periods are there? It could be April to June, it could be July to September, it could be October to December, and though all those periods can be there. But it cannot go beyond the financial year, which has to be for 1 year. There cannot be financial years. In contrast, if you see under the audit proceedings, under section 65 and the rules which are there for section rule 100, in the form itself, it has been mentioned, in the section itself, it has been mentioned that it can be for multiple periods and for multiple financial years also. So the legislature was very much conscious of the fact that wherever they wanted it to be one single year, they have mentioned as one single year in the form. Wherever they wanted it to be for multiple years or for multiple periods, they have mentioned so in the form. Unfortunately, these arguments have not been dealt with in these judgments, which are either in favor of the SSC or are against the SSC, especially if I'm making reference to the Allahabad High Court, that these forms would have some bearing on the entire interpretation. This judgment from Punjab and Haryana High Court in the case of Nice Spinners versus State of Haryana, way back in, I think, the year 2000, wherein it was provided that the forms are part of the statute by virtue of they being part of the rule. And therefore, anything which is mentioned in the form would also have to be treated as to be the part of statute itself. Applying that principle, I would say that the financial year which is mentioned in the form DRC01 and in DRC07, these can only be issued for one single financial year and not for multiple financial years. Yes, the department is free to frame the assessment. They can issue the notices, they can, but then notice has to be issued for every single year and make the assessment. I think वो जो उन्होंने 73, अभी आई हैव ऑलरेडी टोल्ड यू कि वो खिचड़ी पकाई है, 73 उन्होंने बोरो कर लिया सर्विस टैक्स से, और उन्होंने कुछ बोरो कर लिया वैट एक्ट से. असेसमेंट वो फाइनेंशियल ईयर की कर रहे हैं, बट वो उन्होंने शो कॉज नोटिस बेस कर दिया है. सो एवरीथिंग इज एक्चुअली taking us to a different interpretation. But in the scheme of the things, I would say that this would be the best this interpretation which can take place for this. एक और बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग केस जो आजकल थोड़ी सी उसकी लिटिगेशन इंक्रीज हो रही है, मुझे जो लग रहा है वो इन कंटेक्स्ट ऑफ दिस मल्टीपल फाइनेंशियल ईयर्स. एक क्वेश्चन हमसे बारी बारी पूछा जाता है, व्हाट इज द प्रेजुडिस व्हिच इज कॉज्ड टू यू. दिस इज बीइंग put by the other side also, the revenue side as well as by the courts. Mr. Goyal, what is the prejudice which is caused to you in case issue with the multiple years financial, for multiple financial years and clubbed together in one show cause notice? I came across one case. You kindly note down the facts of that case, which will show the prejudice which can be caused to me. We all know that there are multiple entries in the rate notification for restaurants. There used to be पहले, अभी भी हैं, wherein they say that in case your restaurant is located in a specified premises, the rate of tax would be 18%, or it used to be 28%. And that specified premises would say that in case you are, there is accommodation service which is being provided by you, wherein one unit is having a declared tariff of more than 7,500, then it will be declared, this will be deemed to be the specified premises. And in case your restaurant is located in that, you will be liable to pay tax at the rate of 18%. नाउ अब उन्होंने जो नोटिफिकेशन कर रखा है, रेट नोटिफिकेशन कर रखा है, वहां ये क्वेश्चन ही प्रोवाइड कर रखा है कि उसमें पीरियड किसमें आपका डिक्लेयर टैरिफ या वो कंसिडर होगा. आई गिव यू एन एग्जांपल. 17-18 I ran my hotel and also ran my restaurant. I also did in 18-19 and in 19-20. 20 COVID came. The prices came crashing down. 21-22 I again tried to rebuild. I also paid the tax. I again started getting customers. Now in this entire period of 4 years, on one single day, say 31st of December, on New Year Eve, I had a room which was given for 8,000 rupees or 7,501 rupee. Because of the demand, I charged 8,000 rupees from a customer. Or my website showed that for 31st December, I'll be charging this much of money, 10,000 rupees for the hotel accommodation. Now for that particular single day, you are going to charge me the tax at a higher rate, not only for accommodation services, but also for the restaurant which I'm running over there. And in case you are bunching all the periods together, for this one particular day in 18-19, you are going to say that my restaurant services are to be taxed at a rate which is higher. Because you have not defined as to what would be the mean. You are located in a premises which is specified premises as per the notification. I could not have anticipated in 17, 18 and 18, 19 that on one day I'll be giving my accommodation at a rate which is more than 7,500. Such kind of situations may arise. This is only one isolated transaction instance which had come to my mind, which I've shared with you. But there could be many more, wherein the bunching would cause a serious prejudice to you. So therefore, according to me, that the bunching of show cause notice is not even as per the scheme. It is also to be deprecated for the reason that a person should get reasonable opportunity for the entire limitation period. In one case, what had happened, there is a time limit given for the certificates, that the certificates can be provided for availing that discounts, post-sale discounts, where the certificates have to be obtained from the chartered accountants, from my buyers. Now, what had happened, that certificate had to take some time. The officer had issued me the notice and he says, you produce these certificates. Now, of course, that has been done away with. And since the limitation period was expiring, he did not give me the enough time to produce those certificates and impose the tax and penalty upon me for the entire 5 years. That caused me the serious prejudice. In case that last 4 years would have been, the assessment would have been framed after a year or so, I would have easily procured those certificates. Then I have to file I have to make a pre-deposit also. So these are the things which we need to consider while building up our arguments. Then one more issue I'll take up, then I'll take the questions. Anuj, if permitted, can I take one more topic?
You have sufficient time, you can take, sir, please.
All right.
Comfortably.
Another issue is with regard to cross empowerment. This had been deliberated time and again for so many, I think so many occasions this has been talked about. Different high courts had taken different views. Then Armour had finally settled it to say what would be the meaning of intelligence, what would be the meaning of proceedings, what is the show cause, who can do it, who cannot do it, and all that. But the question arises, has it really solved the problem, or it has actually increased manifold now? A person who was aligned to a central jurisdiction is issued a notice by the SGST authority, by the state authorities, straightway under section 74, saying that on scrutiny of your returns, we have found that these A, B, C, D claims of yours are not correct. I reply to him that I am not aligned with you. My jurisdiction is with center. The audit has been conducted. They have not found anything wrong in this. You kindly keep your hands off. And on merit, this is my submission. The officer says, I have checked up with the central authorities. They have not issued the notice on this. Therefore, I am empowered. I say the armor has come now. Armor says, please keep your hands off. Scrutiny-based assessment can only be done by the officer who is who has been aligned to the central jurisdiction or the state jurisdiction, and there is no cross empowerment for that. The officer says, when I had issued the notice, there was no armor. Armor has come later. This is the kind of reading which they are having of the judgments. This is the binding precedent value of Article 141 in our country. Went on to impose tax, interest, and penalty upon the person, saying, I am very much authorized. I have the jurisdiction. Armor came late. I have checked up with the central authorities. Nothing doing, you tax is imposed upon you. These are the jurisdictional issues. Now, in cross empowerment itself, both the authorities are summoning. Somebody is issuing you the notice. You reply to that. You suffer a liability. An order is passed. You file an appeal also. Then the central state authorities do this. Then the central authorities come. Don't give you a chance. Arrest you. Put you behind bars. Ask the state authorities to cancel your RC. Ask the state authorities to attach your bank account. And do all sorts of things. When do I get my chance to agitate that the authorities are acting beyond their jurisdiction? You straightway arrest a person, including for the allegations which are already within the domain of the state authorities. That issue in armor on law may have been settled, but practically we are facing a lot of difficulties in this regard. I don't get a chance. I tell them, they don't listen to that, and they simply arrest a person. You don't even get the professional help. You don't have the armor with you at that point of time. Then there are certain positive things which are there in armor. If you see para 67 of the judgment, it clearly says that the show cause notice which is to be issued by the department must not only contain all the necessary averments and the factual narration should be there, but they should also append the entire documentation with that, so that the assessee can be put to a proper notice. So in case you come across the notices, the show cause notices for any matter, whether it's a cancellation of a registration or whether it is the raising of demand, we should actually agitate to say that we should be given all the proper documents And not only the documents which are in the shape of alert notices or the summons or this and that, we should be given all the possible documents based upon which you have issued me the show cause notice. It cannot be based simply on assumption that Kanpur authority has sent me a notice, has sent me an alert notice, the registration of this supplier has been cancelled, and therefore I am proposing to cancel your registration. If that is the only document, perhaps then no notice can be sustained in this fashion. So Amar takes care of that. We should be aware of that. Okay, what else? एक बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग इशू जो और चल रहा है आजकल वो ये है कि जहां पर लिमिटेशन खत्म हो गई उसमें 73 की बजाय 74 इन्वोक कर दो, क्योंकि लिमिटेशन 74 में आपको 5 इयर्स की मिल रही है। ऑफकोर्स आप अब तो उन्होंने 74A में दोनों के लिए 5 साल कर दिया, बट पुराने पीरियड्स के लिए जहां पर लिमिटेशन खत्म हो रही है वहां पर आप 74 इन्वोक कर दो। नोटिस के अंदर एलिगेशन भी नहीं है, क्या लिखते हैं कि 74 के इंग्रेडिएंट्स ये हैं, अगर हम नहीं पकड़ते, हम इनको नहीं नोटिस इशू करते, ना हम इनको बुलाते, तो ये चोरी हो जाती, इसलिए 74 इन्वोकेबल है। सुप्रीम कोर्ट हैज रिपीटेडली said merely reiteration of the provisions of law cannot constitute the reasons for this purpose for invocation of larger period. But they continue to do so. They continue to put the people to notice under 74 on interpretational issues, on the issues of classification, on various other issues there where there is no intention to evade the tax. Just because it is convenient for them to issue the notice at this stage, they do so. The judgment in this regard is by Honorable Allahabad High Court in the case of Neo HCL Infotech. And then another matter is pending before the Honorable Supreme Court, wherein the stay has also been granted. This is in relation to GR Infra, where the proceedings have been stayed. So 74, the notice has to be seen. Specific replies are required to be made. 74 cannot be invoked, and huge litigation has erupted for this also, that 74 cannot be invoked in such a fashion and in such a casual manner. Some of the courts have, of course, interfered in this. Some courts are of the view that 70, you can go and reply to the authorities as to why the 74 is being sought to be invoked. Couple of issues more, since chairman has given me the liberty to deliberate upon this. I think there is huge influx of litigation on the question of violation of principles of natural justice. Recently in Punjab and Haryana High Court, we had come across a case, rather shocking. An officer issues the show cause notice to a person. Though no response had been filed, in the DRC 07, he appends the copy of the show cause notice again. And in the so-called order also, he says, you kindly reply within 15 days. But the demand has been raised. That matter was taken up by the Honorable High Court, and the officer has, I have been told that the officer has been suspended for such a thing, because he had passed about 15 to 20 orders in this similar fashion, where the show cause notice was appended as an order. And that is not the only area where the principles of natural justice have been violated. You see the orders where they issue the notice, you file a detailed reply. In the order, there is no mention of your reply. They simply say reply has not been filed. You come to the High Court, they say, oh sir, reply रह गया, दोबारा पास कर देते हैं order, कोई बात नहीं. So on the portal, they pass an order. We don't see that your limitation goes, you are doomed. They issue a notice, you file a reply, they don't say it, they get another opportunity to pass an order. पोर्टल तो सबके लिए बराबर है, पर आपके केस में वो क्लोजर ऑफ प्रोसीडिंग्स हैं, उनके लिए हमने वो देखना रहेगा, जो पोर्टल नहीं देखा हमने, गलती रहेगी। भैया पोर्टल पे डाला क्यों था अगर आपने देखना नहीं था तो? दिस इज, दे आर डूइंग द एडजुडिकेशन इन सच अ कैजुअल मैनर, यू कांट इमेजिन। Then personal hearing is not granted. They say reply has been filed, considered, unsatisfactory, done. Non-speaking order. No personal hearing is granted. If the personal hearing is granted, they say he has simply reiterated whatever has been mentioned in the reply. Nothing more than that. You give any document, you submit whatever you want to submit. In case you agitate that the personal hearing proceedings are to be recorded in a particular fashion, then they ignore it. So, in case there is a violation of principles of natural justice at the bottom level, at the adjudicatory level, then again, that is bound to go to the High Court in Article 226. Of course, you can take the appellate remedy, but then that comes at a cost. And the Honorable Calcutta High Court says that the appellate authority cannot replace the assessing authority, and therefore, whatever was to be done by the assessing authority cannot be done at the stage of appellate level, especially keeping in view the fact that the appellate authority does not have the power to remand the cases back. So if that is the situation, then you replace the assessing authorities and say that everything has to be done by the appellate authority, and before that they do, you deposit 10%. Then there's no charm of having the adjudicating authorities at all. So there are many such like situations where the principles of natural justice are violated, and we can take up all those issues. Then another aspect, of course, in armor security, I have already said that SCN is issued without documents. No documents are appended. Today only in the High Court, there was a matter where RC sought to be cancelled. They say supporting documents, no document attached. The notice has been quashed by the court. Very interestingly, today it was circulated on the groups also, Punjab High Court. An officer issues a notice to one of the biggest companies in pharmaceutical in India for multiple years, saying that your audit has been conducted by CAG, and these are the discrepancies which have been found. Very detailed one. The party challenges that show cause notice, saying that no audit had been conducted. I was not involved in any audit. From where do they get this finding? I do not know. And there is no application of mine. And they made the CAG as a party that how did you do my audit without, there is no provision under the law. It can only be done by the special auditor. There is no provision under the audit for this CAG business. Interestingly, the CAG council had appeared and he stated we have not conducted this audit at all. The findings which are based upon or banking upon the findings of the CAG, that audit had not been conducted at all. The officer was on record, the council was on record to say this. And that was the only basis for issuance of notice. So that show cause notice has been quashed by the High Court. I mean, you are playing with the basic survival of these companies. What kind of atmosphere you are providing? Is this the ease of doing with the foot soldiers? I'm saying we need to put some kind of they have to be trained enough. Some accountability has to start. They cannot be simply saying that already quashed the notice, we'll pass the order again. I would say that he had been survived by a thin hair because every single bench pointed it out to him that show cause notice, you go and file a reply. Somehow they managed to get a notice issued in which the reply had come of the CAG that they could get themselves through. But these things are not actually very healthy in such a situation. Then we have another litigation, which is huge litigation again, with regard to the late filing of appeals beyond the condonable period. I think that lot of cases are coming up on that. Some courts have taken a view that under 226 we can condone the delay. Some of the the courts have taken a view that the service on the portal itself is not enough, and therefore service has to be made through proper post or through registered post or through email or whatever. And Section 169 is not to be read as to be any of the option, but all those have to be complied. But then some of the courts have also taken a view that the notices have to be this notices can be served through portal, the orders can be passed on the portal also, and in that case the delay cannot be condoned. So those different views are coming. Unfortunately, again, the assessees are at the receiving end. Assessees are being asked to say are being asked to pay for the so-called upgrading of our infrastructure. We are expecting the perfection in a completely imperfect scenario. I've just shared with you that in case we file a reply to the show cause notice and the officer says that I have not seen it on the portal, there's no accountability for him. There is no punishment for him. He simply says that I will pass the order again. And in some of the cases, the courts might say that you go back and file the appeal. But for an SSC who has not seen it on the portal, and for justifiable reasons, I'm saying, the court says or the authority says you have not filed the appeal within time, therefore your appeal is rejected. And in some of the cases, they have not even given them the opportunity to explain what is the date of communication. They have simply issued them APL 02, and in the column they say appeal status rejected, rejected on the ground of limitation. That's it. Appeal is fine, delayed. So again, you have created some kind of you go to the adjudicating authority, he is not hearing you, he is not considering your reply, he is not passing the speaking order, he is not granting you the personal hearing. You file an appeal, the appellate authority is throwing you out on the question of limitation. He is not hearing your arguments. He is passing the non-speaking order. He is not actually recording the proceedings which have taken place. So many times it has happened. So where are we heading to? You have rendered the adjudicatory proceedings in a completely farce and tribunal that we don't constitute for 9 years. So you have given such a long handle to the officers that they can do whatever they want to do. And you continue to be at the receiving end. 9 years have gone by, the tribunal has not started functioning. Today only I was shown a clip that the GST tribunal in Delhi perhaps has heard one case, and that was adjourned for about 40-45 days. And that's a solitary case. Thereafter the tribunal has not functioned. I stand corrected in case somebody has a different view on this. This is the state of affairs. In Punjab, there is no state technical member who has been appointed as of today. So that continues. We were continuing to have some kind of era where the basic heartbeat of the country, that's the taxation, has gone for a toss. The entire administration, the machinery, we have been taken for a ride. The persons who are actually paying the tax, they are being harassed. We as tax professional cannot defend our clients because under 122 1A they will impose penalties upon us. So the state of affairs is going from bad to worse every day, unfortunately. And these things are not being discussed in the GST Council. Who is responsible for the kind of frauds which have taken place? Of course, we cannot be oblivious of the fact that people have done a lot of frauds. But who is responsible for this? We do not have GST 2 and 3, which was supposed to be there alongside 16.2C. We don't have that. But you continue to press on 16.2C, but you don't press GST 2 and 3. You need to devise a system wherein a person who is actually committing some kind of wrongdoing, he can be caught immediately. you cannot be asking the other persons after 5 years to say that, oh, your transaction was wrong with so and so person, therefore we are imposing tax, interest, and penalty upon you. Within 180 days, you ask me to pay the money to him under Section 16(4) proviso. You don't give me the option that I don't pay the tax to him. Don't give me the option that I pay this tax directly to the department. But you say you pay him the tax, but we'll penalize you after 5 years. Your time to recover this money has also gone. So with these words, I would wind up my deliberations, but I would be happy to answer a few questions. I think it's quite a handful in the chat box.
There are 19 questions, in fact, in question and answer tab. Then there are some questions in chat box also.
Yes.
Ranjit, over to you, please. Should I start, Rainder? I think you
Has not joined. Yes, Chairman, sir, you can do that.
I can read the questions, no? That is okay.
Yes,
So-
sir, please, Chairman.
So the first question is of Vineet Gandhi ji, Advocate Vineet Gandhi. Please show some light on burning issues of demand and litigation on food industry occurring out of paid puja application. There is a very specific question about the burning issues of demand arising because of some application, paid puja application.
Can you just, Gandhi ji, can you just elaborate it a bit further? कि क्या problem क्या है उसके अंदर? Can we
रवि
take it?
नहीं एक मिनट रवि, आई नीड टू आस्क रवि मैं होस्ट हूँ क्या रवि?
हेलो भैया, इसमें
हाँ,
इशू
सर।
क्या आ रहा है पेट पूजा में? जो
हम्म।
डाटा है इनकम टैक्स की तरफ से इनको आया है, लेटर लिख के आई है
Okay.
पूरे पंजाब में। तो उसमें लेटर में क्या है कि इन्होंने डाटा जो है कम दिखाया है सारे रेस्टोरेंट वालों ने। जो सेल है उसका डिफरेंस आ रहा है। दैट इज द इशू।
अच्छा हाँ, इसमें काफी जगह सर्च कंडक्ट करी है ना इन्होंने डिपार्टमेंट में, इनकम टैक्स में भी करी
71 में
है
ही कर रहे हैं अभी।
सर। इसमें जीएसटी में भी करी है कि डुप्लीकेट बिलिंग करके, अंडर रिपोर्टिंग करके, और इनकम टैक्स में भी करेंगे इसमें काफी जगह।
बिल्कुल 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 बिल्कुल।
What is the question now?
उसमें क्या किया जा सकता है सर?
नहीं, आप पता नहीं उन्होंने, अगर आपकी अंडर बिलिंग है, आपने वैल्यूएशन कम दिखाई है तो डिफरेंट प्रोविजंस लागू होंगे, और अगर आपने आप बिना बिल के माल बेचा हुआ है या रेस्टोरेंट सर्विस दी हुई है या टैक्स नहीं पे करा तो आपको नोटिस इशू होगा ही होगा।
सर बेसिकली सर थर्ड पार्टी इंफॉर्मेशन पे पेड पूजा एप्लीकेशन से उन्होंने डेटा लिया, पिक किया थर्ड पार्टी एप्लीकेशन से, फिर उन्होंने देखा कि आपके जीएसटीआर 1 में या आपके यहाँ, उसके बेसिस पे उसने सर्च कंडक्ट करी और उसमें उन्होंने उस पॉइंट पे उन्होंने डिफरेंसेस निकाल के इशू किया और एक्सप्लेनेशन मांगा है।
संदीप सर, ये ना बोरोड सेटिस्फेक्शन का मैटर है और इसमें सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने भी कई बार बोला है कि अगर इस तरह के डॉक्यूमेंट्स जब आप इकट्ठे करते हैं ड्यूरिंग द कोर्स ऑफ इन्वेस्टिगेशन तो कॉर्पोरेटिव एविडेंसेस होना जरूरी है टू एस्टैब्लिश द क्लेम।
बिल्कुल ठीक है।
तो 71 तो इनिशियल स्टेज पे है विशाल जी, बहुत अर्ली स्टेज पे है।
हाँ जी हाँ जी हाँ जी।
तो अभी तो वो कुछ नहीं है, आपसे डॉक्यूमेंट ले रहे हैं, उन्होंने इंस्पेक्शन की जगह आपका 71 कर दिया है,
71 के लिए बिल्कुल बिल्कुल बिल्कुल।
67 की जगह।
हाँ जी हाँ जी हाँ जी।
वो अभी तो आपसे डाटा कलेक्ट कर रहे हैं, शो कॉज करेंगे, उसके बाद कहानी जो है आगे निकलेगी।
आगे निकलेगी। देखो डिफरेंस तो है ही है उसमें, सेल्स में डिफरेंस है।
नहीं विशाल, पर एनी स्पेसिफिक रीजन क्यों डिफरेंस आएगा?
डिफरेंस सर सेल्स रेस्टोरेंट ने दिखाई नहीं हुई है।
ये रेस्टोरेंट ने दिखाई तो फिर तो देन देयर इज अ डिफॉल्ट।
देयर डिफरेंस, हां बस यही है,
डिफॉल्ट। अगर कोई और रीजन होता है कि डिफरेंस का है, कोई कैश डिस्काउंट्स हैं या कोई वैल्यू में कुछ फर्क होता है, तो देन द थिंग्स आर डिफरेंट। बट
हां वो तो होता ही होता है, बट ये सेल्स का भी इशू आ रहा है, आएगा ही आएगा।
ये आएगा ही आएगा। ये तो अभी तो बहुत प्रिलिमिनरी स्टेज के ऊपर है, मुझे लग रहा है।
हां जी हां जी
इसके अंदर तो।
So next question is for late payment of self-assessment tax, interest recovery can be done by issuing form GST DRC 01D without passing order under section 79. Recovery can be done. Please give your view, sir. The question is from Jalak as Dalal Surat, advocate. Rajendra Shah,
for late payment of self-assessment tax, interest recovery can be done by issuing form GST or DRC 01D without passing any order under recovery. जलक जी, एक्चुअली इस इशू के ऊपर भी डिफरेंट ओपिनियंस है, बट इन माय व्यू आई थिंक दे हैव टू इशू यू अ नोटिस. They cannot be making any recovery of without issuing of show cause notice simply for the reason.
Sandeep sir, if you allow me,
जी.
there are two issues with regard to this. पहला डिफरेंस आता है 1 और 3B का. अगर 1 और 3B में डिफरेंस है तो डायरेक्ट रिकवरी सेक्शन 79 में बाय वर्च्यू ऑफ सेक्शन 75 सबसेक्शन 12 हो सकती है. लेकिन अगर 2B और 3B का डिफरेंस है तो इनवेरिएबली लॉ आल्सो प्रिस्क्राइब्स दैट दे हैव टू इशू अ शो कॉज नोटिस टू डिटरमाइन द एक्चुअल टैक्स लायबिलिटी व्हिच इज रॉन्गली अवेल्ड और क्लेम्ड.
बिल्कुल ठीक है.
तो देयरफॉर दोनों अलग अलग सिचुएशंस हैं. तो रिकवरी 1 और 3B में 79 में 75 12 की वर्च्यू से हो सकती है.
सर यहाँ पर
which I personally feel, sir.
But if there is an sorry sir,
यहाँ पर जो राजेंद्र जी, जो यहाँ पर इशू है ना, वो कह रहे हैं कि फॉर लेट पेमेंट ऑफ सेल्फ असेसमेंट टैक्स whether the interest recovery can be done by issuing form DRC 01D.
इंटरेस्ट रिकवरी,
इंटरेस्ट रिकवरी की बात कर रहे हैं और रिकवरी की बात नहीं कर रहे हैं. वो डिफरेंस की बात नहीं कर रहे हैं जीएसटी 1 और 3B की. यहाँ इंटरेस्ट की लाइबिलिटी की बात कर रहे हैं जलक जी.
जजमेंट्स हैं ऐसे
जी.
मिक्स्ड जजमेंट जहां पर कुछ जजमेंट्स में कहा गया कि इवन फॉर इंटरेस्ट रिकवरी डिटर्मिनेशन, ऑल्दो धर्मेंद्र टेक्सटाइल सुप्रीम कोर्ट ये कहता है कि इंटरेस्ट इज ऑटोमेटिक, लेकिन फिर भी उसकी कंपुटेशन इज नेसेसरी. तो देयरफॉर उसके लिए अपॉर्चुनिटी इज नेसेसरी. तो देयरफॉर शो कॉज इज नेसेसरी.
सर उसके लिए एक कारण और है ना राजेंद्र जी, ये भी तो हो सकता है कि आपके कैश लेजर में पैसा पड़ा हुआ था या आपके क्रेडिट लेजर में पैसा पड़ा हुआ था. दैट सिनेरियो सेक्शन 50 would come to your rescue read with rule 88B. Where the tax liability
86 जो है रूल 86.
So therefore interest liability needs to be determined. It cannot be straightaway
Yes sir,
recovered.
yes sir, perfectly वो सर आपने बिल्कुल उसको वैल्यू ऐड कर दिया. बिल्कुल सही सर.
then next question, without alleging wrong availment of ITC from without alleging wrong availment of ITC from receiver, the penalty under section 122(2)(b) can be imposed on the supplier relying on CBIC circular number 171/2003/2022 dated 6th July 2022.
122(2)(b) मुझे लग रहा है शायद गलत लिखा हुआ है ना ये सेक्शन.
ये वो होगा ना सर, विदाउट एलिजिंग रॉन्ग अवेलमेंट ऑफ फ्रॉम रिसीवर 122(1) होगा ना सर, ये 122.
Okay, 122(b) में इसने लिखा है, any registered person who supplies any goods or services or both on which any tax has not been paid or where the ITC has been wrongly waived or utilized for any reason for fraud equal to penalty or the tax due from such person whichever is higher. तो सर इसमें अगर फ्रॉड एलेज नहीं करा हुआ है फिर तो
2B है सर,
नहीं लगेगा ना. 122(2)(b) में तो उनको फ्रॉड एलेज करना पड़ेगा कि आप
राइट.
इसके बगैर आपको आईटीसी वो डिनाई नहीं कर सकते, पेनल्टी नहीं लगा सकते हैं आपके ऊपर.
सर इसमें एक सब्सिक्वेंट क्वेश्चन मेरा भी है, इसमें विदाउट इशूइंग 74 वो कर सकता है 122(2)(b) के अंदर या 122(2)?
देखिए 122 और 74 जो है वो डिफरेंट सिचुएशंस में ऑपरेट करते हैं. अगर आपके ऊपर 74 है, यू आर बीइंग अ टैक्सेबल पर्सन एंड दे वांट टू से दैट यू हैव रॉन्गली अवेल्ड द आईटीसी एंड दे कैन इम्पोज अ पेनल्टी इक्विवेलेंट पेनल्टी अंडर 74. Then in that scenario, of course, the penalty under 74 cannot be, 122 cannot be imposed. But a person who is not actually wrongly, the ITC has not been wrongly waived, but he is being penalized only under 122, then yes, 122 penalties on standalone basis is permissible.
So in my case, what the officer has done, he has issued notice under section 74 and penalty he has imposed under 122(2)(b). So he can, my ground is in the appeal is that he cannot do that. In case he has issued notice under 74, the penalty can only be imposed under section 74.
So 74 would always come with the rider of penalty.
Right.
Sandeep sir, if you allow me.
Yes, sir.
सर 122 आपने बहुत सुंदर एक बात बताई कि 122 में पेनल्टी लगाने के लिए कोई डेफिनेट पीरियड नहीं है
जी.
और उसमें आपने वो जो रेशोज भी इनकम टैक्स के भी और दूसरे जजमेंट्स की भी. सर मेरा एक यहाँ पर सबमिशन है कि 122 में जब पेनल्टी लगाई जाएगी तो पेनल्टी कैन नॉट बी ऑटोमेटिक. पेनल्टी के लिए शो कॉज या अपॉर्चुनिटी होना जरूरी है. तो स्टैंड अलोन 122 में पेनल्टी क्या लग सकती है? 74 को इन्वोक नहीं किया।
जी, लग सकती है, लग सकती है।
ओके ओके।
जी।
Next question is, in one of the case of ITC fraud, the PO has registered an FIR at crime branch under section 318, 338, then B of BNS 2023 on main company. ठीक है, FIR सर main company पे भी crime branch ने करी. Now summon has been issued to L2, L3, L4 in the chain. What can be the consequences in this case? Please guide.
विनोद जी,
Summon issued.
विनोद जी, एक्चुअली जो 318 की हम बात कर रहे हैं BNS, इट आई थिंक दिस इज पेरीमीटर टू सेक्शन 140 ऑफ द वो 420 ऑफ द IPC व्हिच वी हैड अर्लियर।
Right.
और जो ITC फ्रॉड के केसेस में पुलिस ऑफिसर ने FIR रजिस्टर करी है, दैट इटसेल्फ इज एक्चुअली विदाउट अथॉरिटी ऑफ लॉ। Once a particular provision, of course, 338 could be attracted in such a situation, but 318, 420 cannot be attracted for a case where where they would say that since the ITC fraud has been committed, therefore we are initiating the FIR proceeding or the police proceedings, because the act, this GST Act being a special act, itself takes care of all these situations where the prosecution can be launched under section 132. So therefore, the basic case itself is wrong. But yes, we have to deal with the practical situation where they have issued the summons to L2, L3, and L4. Perhaps when they talk about L2, L3, and L4, they would be summoned for the purpose of witness against the main accused. But they always run the risk of having been arrested, for which, in case they are being summoned by the police, they can go for anticipatory bail. That is better idea in such a scenario. I think there cannot be any straitjacket answer to this situation, because it all depends upon the whims and fancies of the officers as to whether they want to arrest the person or not. Because as per Stinder Kumar Antil and as per Arnesh Kumar, they should not be arrested. But sometimes the police do, or you have only the remedy of going for a regular bail in that scenario.
Done. So the next question is same, whether section 122 can be invoked without section 74, which you have already answered. Now further subsequent queries, if yes, what will be the limitation period for SCN under section 122?
We have already discussed this, I think.
Right. Then Tran 1 not available on GST portal. Service tax ITC not utilized of supplies purchased between these two between 1st April 2017 to 30th June 2017. Invoices showing service tax in hand. Service tax ITC as of 30th June 2017 claimed in GSTR 3B. How to retrieve service tax returns at ACE CBIC portal? Can manual Tran 1 be filed with service tax ITC invoices in IST appeal proceedings of section 107 filed against ex parte DRC 07 order?
Rodaji, I think I would be the last person who will be in a position to answer this, because these are all procedural things. I have never filed a return in my life.
Service ITC not utilized on supplies
सर
purchase between.
सर बट इन्होंने जो सवाल पूछा है ना, उसको डिपार्टमेंट बहुत अच्छे से ट्रायन 1 को दोबारा ओपन करके जवाब कर चुका है उसका।
अब now this is not the
तो
stage.
अब वो संभव दोबारा अनुज सर है नहीं, तो सर जो आपने वो नहीं एडजस्ट किया वो आप मानकर चलिए दैट इज गॉन इन नेशन बिल्डिंग, आपका योगदान राष्ट्र निर्माण के लिए।
ठीक है, चलो, we are moving forward. Please enlighten us that if tax and penalty are imposed on a company and simultaneously equal penalty is imposed on directors too, whether such a penalty can be levied?
Well, answer is yes and no. In case the directors are being penalized simply for the reason that they were they were there in the company to act on behalf of the company, then the penalty which has been imposed upon the company under section 74, I think no personal penalties can be imposed upon the directors. They can at the best be considered as the abettors, and a penalty of 25,000 could have been imposed. But to impose a separate penalty upon them, I had seen this, in the case of proprietors also, where the tax is imposed in the name of the firm as well as on the proprietor in 122, 74 penalty in tax, and then penalty in the name of 122 penalty in the name of
Director.
So And in the case of partnership firm, also on the partner separately. I think that is not permissible. In case you are imposing the tax and penalty upon the company and the directors are being penalized, they can be penalized only in terms of being a better to this under section 122(3) by up to the maximum of 25,000, because the company is already being penalized for this purpose.
So next question is, one of my clients served the order under section 73 on 30th June 2025. Tax determined on theirs is a difference in turnover of rupees 55 lakhs. There is a difference in turnover of 55 lakhs for which notice under section 70 is served. As GST 7 filed by the government authority, meanwhile, there was suo motu cancellation of registration. Still, we have paid the taxes through electronic cash ledger deducted by the government authority, whether interest liability attract or not, as the payment has already been made from TDS amount credited to the credit cash ledger. Is there is any case law on this regard?
I think in case your amount is getting reflected in the cash
Cash
ledger,
ledger.
then the interest is not applicable.
Exactly.
That's been provided in the statute itself. Initially, it was not there that the cash ledger amount will be counted towards the payment, but now it's provided that the cash ledger will be counted.
Only on the balance amount the interest is to be computed. Yes. So Rakesh Kataria sir ka question hai. One issue, sir, the investigating authority invoking cross jurisdictional powers based on intelligence of ITC wrongly availed in respect of one supplier can extend the scope of investigation to other parties, especially based on GSTR 2A.
Yes, he can. I think an investigating authority who is invoking the cross-jurisdictional power based upon the intelligence of ITC, any information which comes to him, in fact, as per the judgment of Armour also, sir, this is the information which has been retrieved by him and will be the part of the intelligence information itself. And therefore, he can extend the scope of the investigation to other parties based upon the GSTR 2A, because that GSTR 2A is being reflected in the in the account of the party against whom the investigation has been launched. So he is very much authorized to extend, subject of course to his territorial and pecuniary jurisdictions. He can.
Just a second. Next question is just a second. Kataria sir. Gulshan Gulati ji, validity of DRC 07 issued by 1 year for 1 year, whereas order in original has been issued for multiple years. How the dealer can file appeal, sir?
That precisely would be one of our grounds before the Honorable High Court to say that multiple years order cannot be passed. Because in that scenario, as you have put it, DRC 07, you have to file different appeals for different years and append the same order with all of them. So that in fact one of our grounds that there is a difficulty to file appeals in such a
Bhatia sir ko add kar do.
Sandeep sir, if you allow me to ask one question in relation to this only.
Please.
Bhatia sir keh rahe hain group mein.
संदीप सर, what happened? मतलब 18-19 का 19-20 20-21 3 साल का मैटर ओपन किया गया. DRC 1 केवल 18-19 का हुआ, फिर तीनों साल का एडजुडिकेशन हुआ और DRC 7 केवल 18-19 का हुआ, लेकिन 1 और 7 में दोनों अमाउंट तीनों साल के क्लब करके इशू कर दिए गए पोर्टल पर. What is your view, sir?
सर आई थिंक वो तो ऑर्डर पेटेंटली लीगल हो गया ना. जहां पर उन्होंने DRC 01 और 07 में एक ही साल लिया हुआ है, तो जो शो कॉज में और ऑर्डर में उन्होंने बियॉन्ड दैट ईयर जो उन्होंने ट्रांजेक्शन्स को काउंट कर लिया है, that is absolutely without any justification or jurisdiction. That order that cannot be sustained at all. It has to confine to the period for which the DRC 01 has been issued to you.
Thank you, sir.
So next question is, limitation for each year would be different. Therefore, single notice for multiple years would also create issues relating to limitation for completion of such assessments. Sandeep ji, I would also like to hear your views on single notice to multiple parties.
Well,
such notice.
For the first issue, I think we have already deliberated upon that it would affect the issues pertaining to the merits of my assessments, as I've already stated, that I had to procure the CA certificate for which I did not get the ample time, or I had to procure certain information since the limitation was getting expired for the first year, therefore I was not getting the benefit. For the question that whether a single notice can be issued to the multiple parties, in my mind, yes, it can be issued. And there have been the proper notifications and circulars in this respect, and have also been provided by the CBIC that in case there are multiple parties, the jurisdiction would lie with the principal chief commissioner or chief commissioner, where the highest amount is involved. I think that had been the situation under the central excise and the service tax regime also. And here also the same situation is there. And the notice can be issued to the multiple parties for sure.
The next question is quite long question. I'm reading out. How the GST department,
Now the GST department.
sorry, how now the GST department, especially Central GST, has not heard anything and demanded in all cases if the dealer has not fulfilled the wanting of officers without personal hearing. The superintendent passed the order in the place of assistant commissioner, Central Excise and GST. The assistant commissioner only put her signature. Maybe ITC matter, maybe it is any matter. Their intentions are only to demand without accepting the pleadings of the dealer. Now the association is only discussed in seminars and conferences, but the department has done what they desire. Now my question is whether it will stop or not, whether dealers will get justice or not. In maximum cases, the department passed order under section 74 instead of 73, which is illegal. Officers violate the principle of 62B of GST, knowing that same issue was assessed by an officer. Now my question is whether our association will take any action or only confined with a discussion and seminar. So please do not think otherwise.
Anuj ji, आप आंसर करो.
Sir, we are regularly making representations to the government.
नहीं सर, एक बात है, देखो मैं रविंदर जी की बात से ना 100% एग्री कर रहा हूँ. एक्चुअली ये प्रैक्टिकल प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, एंड हम जितनी मर्जी डिस्कशन कर लें लॉ के ऊपर, उसका कोई रिजल्ट नहीं है जब तक हम लोग जो रूट लेवल प्रॉब्लम्स हैं उनको सॉल्व नहीं करेंगे. देखिए, ये बात बिल्कुल ठीक है, आप चाहे एडिशनल कमिश्नर के सामने पेश हो रहे हो, चाहे आप असिस्टेंट कमिश्नर के सामने पेश हो रहे हो, आपको उन्होंने दे हैव रिड्यूस्ड यू टू द लेवल ऑफ द सुपरिटेंडेंट्स ओनली, एंड इन सम केसेस इवन द इंस्पेक्टर्स. Nobody is actually granting you the proper opportunity. Any adjudication is taking place. You simply go sign over there and they say, all right, your personal hearing is done, you go. Sometimes the order sheets are not recorded. When the state of affairs at the bottom level is definitely very, very disheartening. And he's right that we should take up all these issues. We should be actually agitating on a regular basis before the GST Council that these are the practical problems. There should be cameras. There should be some kind of logbook where the things are to be recorded in a fashion that the adjudication has taken place. Some order sheets are to be maintained. Nobody is doing that. एक नया पेपर बनाते हैं और उसको भेज देते हैं. अब क्या हो रहा है कि लोगों ने people have started opting for the online personal hearings so that there is one-to-one relation. और आप एक बात देखिए, जहां पर भी हायर ऑफिसर्स ने आपके केस को सुना है, there have been better results. I'm not saying completely incorrect, but there have been better results because their appreciation or understanding of the things could be on a different scale. But जहां पर सुपरिटेंडेंट्स आपका केस सुन रहे हैं, जिन्होंने नोटिस बना के भेजा हुआ है, they are in a hurry to pass the order, वहां आपको न्याय मिलने का कोई स्कोप नहीं रहता है. But yes, we should take up all these issues, I believe.
संदीप सर, जब इतनी सारी बातें हो रही हैं, बहुत सारी बातों में परेशानियां लोगों को नजर आ रही हैं, चेयरमैन सर, अनुज जी, मैं एक प्रपोजल देना चाहता हूं. ऑफकोर्स हम लोग ऑफलाइन भी डिस्कस कर लेंगे इसको, कि संदीप सर आप भी यहाँ हैं, तो एक पैनल डिस्कशन रिगार्डिंग दी बॉटलनेक्स इन द सिस्टम एंड द एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, और उसमें सर हम ना पैनल में आपके माध्यम से, अनुज जी के माध्यम से, जो हमारे गवर्नमेंट डिपार्टमेंटल रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स इन द हाई कोर्ट्स हैं, उनको भी यहाँ पर हम इनवाइट करें और उनके साथ चर्चा करें, पॉजिटिव डिस्कशन, कि भाई कहाँ डिफिकल्टी आ रही है, कैसे. आप आज जैसे सर मैं आपके साथ हाईकोर्ट में था तो वहां चर्चा हो रही थी कि पोर्टल पर डिपार्टमेंट के पास ऑर्डर लिखते समय अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ स्पेस ही नहीं है, तो वो कैसे लिखेगा एक रीजनड ऑर्डर DRC 7 पास करते हुए. तो हम इस तरह की एक चर्चा, अनुज सर, मेरा एक विनती है कि एक पैनल डिस्कशन हम करें अगले महीने हमारे इस वेबिनार सीरीज में, और उससे मेंबर्स को बड़ा लाभ होगा। इनवाइट ऑफिसर्स, और हम इवन डिपार्टमेंटल रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स इन द कोर्ट ऑल्सो, आप भी बहुत लोगों के साथ कनेक्टेड हैं, और हमारे संदीप जी भी और हमारे संजय सर भी, सभी लोग हैं। हम तो आपके फॉलोअर्स हैं सर।
नहीं, वेल टेकन। और इसको एक बार डिस्कस कर लेते हैं एक बार, और इसको अगली बार एक बार प्लान कर लेंगे जिस भी तरीके से होता है, विल प्लान अकॉर्डिंगली। इसको विल डिस्कस, दिस इज वेरी वैलिड सजेशन मेड बाय यू। तो इसको एक बार टेकअप करके इसको करते हैं डिस्कस, प्लीज। सर, कैन वी प्रोसीड टू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन? सर,
प्लीज गो अहेड।
May I suggest a prejudice to the taxpayer for bunching of notice for number of years? In this respect, there would be consolidated demand for multiple years. For going to appeal, I shall have to deposit 10% of the tax for entire period, and I may not be able to afford to deposit. In case there was an year-wise demand, it would be possible to deposit 10% of 10% for filing of appeal.
That argument not be acceptable for the reason, अगर आपको अलग-अलग सालों के इकट्ठे ऑर्डर पास कर देंगे तब भी तो वही सिचुएशन है।
पर सर, इसमें ओरिजिनल ऑर्डर में तो
फाइल अपील फॉर मे बी 2 years 3 years if I can't afford for entire 5 years.
Yes, you are right. You are right for that matter. But I mean, demand फिर उसमें तो और भी प्रॉब्लम है ना, अगर अलग-अलग सालों के इकट्ठे में भी आपको you can go to the high court for seek waiver for the amount. अलग-अलग आ सकती है।
ठीक। सर, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज फ्रॉम एचसी भाटिया सर। एक्चुअली मैं उनको पैनलिस्ट भी ऐड करने की कोशिश कर रहा था, भाटिया सर को समाप्त कर नहीं पा रहा, तो वो उनको कुछ डिस्कस करना था। पर उनका क्वेश्चन सर यहाँ पर है, इवन इन ए मैटर like the one you were just referring, where proceedings were completed and the SSC has even filed appeal before SGST authorities, the CGS authorities themselves take all the actions, including issuance of notice in DRC 01, attachment of bank account, etc.
भाटिया साहब का बहुत शुक्रिया कि उन्होंने यहाँ पर आके हमें ब्लेस करा, दैट इज वन थिंग। और दूसरा ये मैं आपको कह रहा था कि जैसे DRC 01 अगर मेरे को इशू करेगा उस टाइम तो मैं जाके बोल सकता हूँ कि आप इसको ड्रॉप कर दीजिए, आई गेट अपॉर्चुनिटी। आई वाज टॉकिंग ऑफ अ सिचुएशन वेयर दे टेक एन एनफोर्समेंट एक्शन, whether in the shape of arrest or in the bank attachment or for the cancellation of RC. In all these three situations, I am not getting the opportunity to explain that the action has already been taken by the state authorities in this regard, and therefore please keep your hands off me. So that is the problem, which Armor deals with the situation where you get an opportunity. You go to the High Court and say that I have already been assessed or I have already been proceeded by the authorities. Therefore, there cannot be any cross, I mean, adjudication or anything of that sort. But they cannot be taking an action based upon their own understanding of the matter where the notice has already been issued. Because arrest से पहले तो आपको मौका दे नहीं ना रहे हैं वो. Again, you have to go to the courts only. Section 83 आपकी attachment हो गई है. Again, it's a problem. Your bank has been closed. So वो प्रॉब्लम है हमें। आई थिंक वी नीड टू अगेन, भाटिया साहब भी हैं यहाँ पर, तो हम लोगों को हाई कोर्ट में आर्मर की कॉन्टेक्स्ट में ये चीज वी हैव टू हाईलाइट दैट अरेस्ट कैन नॉट टेक प्लेस अनलेस देयर इज सम सब्सटेंस इन दैट दे आर एक्टिंग ऑन अ डिफरेंट इंफॉर्मेशन। जी
राइट सर। नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन।
Sandeep ji, I have one small question.
यस सर।
Now a case has come up where a transporter has been arrested
yes
for knowingly transporting goods belonging to someone else, and the value of goods exceed and the tax on that person exceeds 5 crore rupees. Admittedly, the transporter has charged only transportation charges, on which the tax component which he has not paid is he has charged around 1 crore rupees. So his tax component is only 5 lakh rupees. But transporters have been not even been alleged as an abettor, and therefore 132(1)(a) has been invoked against the transporter also.
ट्रांसपोर्टर पे तो लग ही नहीं सकता है, बेटर के
That is
ऊपर
exactly my case, but the matter bail has been rejected twice. Now we are before Allahabad High Court.
बेल तो रिजेक्ट, आपको पता है जीएसटी का समझ ही नहीं ना आता किसी को, इसलिए रिजेक्ट हो रही है ना सारी की सारी।
हाँ, but this is a very strange case where
सर बेटर के ऊपर तो कॉग्निजेबल ऑफेंस ही नहीं है ना बेटर।
yes, exactly, that is my case. It is a bailable offense. It is not a cognizable offense.
सर, संदीप सर, कैन वी प्रोसीड सर प्लीज?
प्लीज।
नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन राकेश कटारिया सर का है। कि सफारी रिट्रीट्स आर ऑलरेडी डिसाइड हो चुका है, देन सब्सिक्वेंट अमेंडमेंट्स भी हो गए सेक्शन 17(5)(c) में एंड डी उसका हो गया CGST. There remains whether there remains any scope for claiming ITC in respect to construction of warehouses or malls.
कटारिया जी, ये लिटिगेशन चल रही है 2 एस्पेक्ट्स के ऊपर. एक तो ये कि व्हाट वुड बी द ट्रू मीनिंग ऑफ अमेंडेड 17(5)(c) and D, and second, whether the retrospective amendment could have taken place in this scenario or not, and thirdly, whether for the past period 74 could have been invoked or not. The litigation is already there in Punjab Haryana High Court. We have laid challenge to the amended provisions. Notices have been issued, and the penalty recovery has already been stayed. So we are hopeful that we will be able to get something out of this litigation as we did in the earlier round of litigation. So these are all debatable issues. I think depending upon the response which is filed by the other side, the court will deliberate upon this and will come out with a conclusion. I think retrospectivity is one issue which we definitely can argue in courts.
सर पर अभी प्रॉब्लम क्या आ रही है, एंटी विजन DGJ सब आ गए हैं और जिन्होंने उनको अपने ITC लेजर में रखा तो उनसे फोर्सफुली रिवर्स करा रहे हैं. ये प्रॉब्लम्स आ रही हैं और देन दे आर इम्पोजिंग पेनल्टी ऑल्सो कि अगर आप नहीं करोगे तो देन विल इशू पेनल्टी नोटिस ऑल्सो. ये सब जगह ये एंटी विजन और DGI
ये
इसमें
तो
काफी
वही
एक्टिव हो
बात,
गए.
ये तो फिर वो गुंडागर्दी वाली बात होगी ना.
हाँ,
ये
तो
तो
ये
फिर
सर ये
इनको
काफी
नोटिस
प्रॉब्लम आ
इशू
रहा है
करना
सर
पड़ेगा ना
इस
हमें.
वैल्यूएशन.
हाँ, नोटिस इशू करना पड़ेगा ना. दे कांट डू इट लाइक दिस.
अच्छा, next is the compliment from SC Bhatia sir that to Sandeep ji, very very useful
I'm really
deliberation as
blessed.
you.
I'm really blessed and thankful.
ठीक है
Whenever
sir.
I'll meet him, I'll take his personal blessing.
So next, moving to the next question. One of my client pay more tax in year 2021 than what accrued during the said year. The assessment has made questioning the tax demand but charged for the interest. Can the excess tax paid is recovered from the GST department? If so, then how can it be done? Please enlighten.
And has been made
Refund.
guessing the tax demand but charged for interest. Can the excess tax be recovered from me?
Assessment has made questioning the tax demand but charged.
इंटरेस्ट फिर किस बात पे लगा हुआ है?
हाँ, exactly. जब if you have paid the excess tax, then why the interest is levied? And if you have paid excess tax and the assessment is framed determining that excess tax is paid, then he can file the refund for the excess tax paid.
he can.
तो वो
इंटरेस्ट उन्होंने फिर भी आप होल्ड कर दिया तो उसकी अपील हो जाएगी.
Right. So next is, can the period of limitation condoned beyond 3 months by the appellate authority? सर इसमें अब आपने ऑलरेडी एक्सप्लेन किया है कि लिटिगेशन चल रही है सारी. सर इसमें बेसिकली क्वेश्चन है कि डू द appellate authority और जी स्टेट दे हैव पावर टू कंडोन द डिले, जो हमारी लिमिटेशन एक्ट 5 और 12 का जो हमारा इश्यूज चल रहे हैं.
Oh, I think it's a very very long issue. I think 5 apply नहीं होगा as per the judgment of Glaxo and the earlier judgments of Singh Construction. Section 14 apply जरूर होगा limitation act का, जिसमें आप period exclude कर सकते हो during which you are litigating at a different level. जैसे rectification के period जो है वो exclude हो जाएगा. And there have been instances where the person was not in a position to file the appeal. So all those things would have considered.
सर जो हमारी सारी 5 लिमिटेशन एक्ट की अपील्स 5 की सेक्शन 5 की जो ट्रिब्यूनल पे जाएंगी तो ट्रिब्यूनल वेदर दे आर हैविंग पावर और नॉट कि टू कंडोन दैट डिले, क्योंकि ये क्वेश्चन ऑफ लॉ.
I don't think tribunal has the power to condone.
They don't have the power. That is the thing. Then next question is, I have taken registration under rule 14A. If my monthly tax liability exceeds 2.5 lakhs in any month, what will be the consequences and what should I do in that situation?
I think आपके केस में यही है कि अगर आपकी लाइबिलिटी एक्सीड कर जाती है 2.5 लाख, आई हैड कम अक्रॉस दिस सिचुएशन, तो आपको आपको विड्रॉ नहीं कर सकते आप 3 महीने तक, पता नहीं कितने कुछ टाइम दिया हुआ है उसके दौरान. उसके बाद में आप एप्लीकेशन देके यू कैन कन्वर्ट एज अ रेगुलर डीलर.
Exactly. Done. Then order in original received from Service Tax Department from financial year 12-13 to 16-17 in February 26. Order in original, अच्छा ठीक है. In February 26, dealer is not having user ID or password. How to pay pre-deposit amount and how to file appeal petition. Can manually be possible or user ID or password should be applied with.
हाँ, jurisdictional officer के पास जाके इसको रिजॉल्व करा सकते हैं, बट यू शुड बी डूइंग एवरीथिंग इन राइटिंग. यू सेंड अ लेटर टू देम एंड फाइंड इट. अगर नहीं होते देन यू माइट हैव टू अप्रोच द हाई कोर्ट फॉर दिस पर्पस.
सर इसमें शायद सेस्टेट में अपील फाइल करने की बात हो रही है. सर सेस्टेट प्रोविजन भी अभी सेस्टेट वाले कुछ डिमांड ड्राफ्ट है उस तरीके से भी एक्सेप्ट कर रहे थे पीछे, जो मुझे अंडरस्टैंडिंग, आई एम नॉट श्योर दो, पर
नहीं
उस तरीके से
नहीं
वो
पाता,
नहीं
उसको
कर
प्रॉब्लम
वो नहीं
आती
कर
है तो किसी के नाम नहीं है ना कोई भी अब तो डिपार्टमेंट।
Done. Got it, sir. Then GST rates applicable to Restro Bakery business model by a firm in the ground floor, one bakery and a restaurant is in the first floor. Okay, so they are having two at ground floor they have a bakery and on the first floor they have a restaurant. So what is saying कि उसमें restaurant वाले rate apply करेगा, can we have a bakery as a separate और उसको different rate apply कर सकते हैं?
डिफरेंट रेट अप्लाई कर सकते हैं, बेकरी का अलग से। मिठाई की दुकान में ऐसे ही होता है, रेस्टोरेंट भी चलता है और मिठाई भी बिकती है, वो भी बिकता है, तो दोनों चीजें दोनों इट मे नॉट बी डिफरेंट वर्टिकल बट टू डिफरेंट रेट्स कैन बी अप्लाइड फॉर दिस, क्योंकि वो रेस्टोरेंट का बिजनेस ही नहीं है वो तो ना।
Done. Sir, then an order passed under section 76 for interest demand only for 40 lakhs in 1718 issued only summary of order without detailed speaking order. Is it permissible? First appeal has been rejected due to late filing. More than 4 months. Can we go into tribunal on technical grounds?
सर 4 महीने पहले तो आपको लिमिटेशन के पॉइंट पे ही डील करना
पहले उस पे जाना पड़ेगा, limitation. Then in case of single SCB for multi show cause notice होगा सर ये. In the case of single show cause notice for multiple parties, DIN was created only with respect to one party.
ठीक है।
Will this not affect the validity of SCN or order in original?
इट्स अ डॉक्यूमेंट आइडेंटिफिकेशन नंबर, तो अगर सिंगल शो कॉज नोटिस फॉर मल्टीपल पार्टीज है तो सिंगल दैट शुड बी सफिशिएंट।
That will suffice. Done. Proceedings under GST are confidential under section 152 and 158 of the Act. Does issuance of single notice and order to multiple parties not violate these statutory provisions?
Yeah, well, it has to be tested on that touchstone in case they are showing this. But I think there is an exception under section 152 and 158 that where it is imperative or in the public interest, then it can be done. Because in that scenario, I think, well, it can be one of the grounds that under 152 you cannot do this.
I understand, sir, on this ground, writ in daily was also filed on this ground,
Yes.
pressing on this ground. I'm not aware about the outcome. Actually, this question is from Bhatia, sir.
Yes,
But
I
some-
have seen this.
Sir. Sir, moving to the next question. I have appeal which delay 120 days. There is a delay of 120 days. Officer has not given for PH, just reject the appeal. Now SGST has issued GST DRC 13. Is it correct?
Well, you have to go to the court first to get the delay condoned, or you have to file a petition, writ petition, as to why the delay was there. If at all the court can condone your delay. And of course, DRC 13, you have to obtain a stay from the High Court, otherwise DRC 13 can be issued. There is nothing wrong in it in case the recovery is due. As of now, you don't have any stay in your favor.
These are the questions which he received in the question and answer tab. Then there are certain questions in chat box also, but which I'm not reading otherwise because there are also 16, 17 questions. I'll share with you. So you can give us the answer.
We'll have
share on
another
the
session.
groups.
We'll have another session for this.
We'll have some other session. And then I'll share on the group also about the queries and all. Right. So let's, sir, just a formal vote of thanks. Thanks for making such a wonderful deliberation, covering the important topics like bunching of notices, multiple parties, cross-empowerment. Sir, your suggestion is well taken to make a representation to the government in respect to section 122(1)(a), because it is bothering lot many people. Chartered accountants are receiving notices, employees are receiving notices under section 122(1)(a). Throughout the presentation, so you can understand the importance of the topic and your deliberation, that throughout the presentation, there were more than 200 participants. And thanks again, sir, for this wonderful deliberation, and hope to see you in future again, sir. Thank you, please, sir.
Thank you so much, Anuj, for giving me this opportunity. I look forward to be with you again on discussing and deliberating some more topics and to interact with you and gain something out of this discussion. Thank you so much.
Great, sir. Great. Thanks a lot, sir. Please.
So much for having me.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.